Alright, what's up, YouTube? It's BoxingWave. I wanted to speak on Gennady Golovkin, his separation from Abel Sanchez and him fighting Steve Rose. I haven't done a video on Golovkin in a while, okay? I've done middleweight base videos, but I haven't done one on him probably since the Canelo fight, okay? Um, but I've been paying attention. I know about the separation of Abel, with him between him and Abel. My thoughts on that is I think it could be a good thing. I think sometimes some fighters just need a fresh start. You know, he's been with Abel for a very, very long time, and maybe a fresher trainer might bring some new looks in. He is 37 years old, so I mean, he's not going to change too much as far as his fight. I know he brought different tactics and a different game plan for the different fight against Canelo in the second fight, but bringing in a new trainer is not always so bad. And this is a good opportunity to start off fresh. You're with the zone, you got a new 6 fight deal, and you're like in the fourth quarter of your boxing career. So why not, bring somebody fresh and new? Um, I think there was some kind of tension going on there. I don't know if it was the last Canelo fight or maybe the first Canelo fight, but I remember Abel was saying some comments that he wouldn't normally say in like interviews that he did with the media that just seemed a little awkward. Okay, just the way that there's nothing wrong with a fighter or a trainer criticizing his fighter and pointing out things, but the way Abel was doing it seemed a little off to me. I just can't remember if it was the first or second fight, but it seems like things were a little off. Okay, and when Gennady announced the news that he will no longer be working with Abel, he seemed to be really professional about it. Didn't really put out any details or anything. Abel, on the other hand, seemed to really be upset about it. It was a little name calling in there, saying that he was ungrateful, and I hate to see stuff like that, especially when people had a relationship for years, and when things don't work out. I don't understand why people have to you know say anything bad about someone they've been around with for years. Certain things shouldn't be said to the public, in my opinion. Especially when you build a relationship with someone for years like that. I've heard Abel say that Golovkin was like a son to him. Like, I heard things like that. So you never know. You just don't want to. You never know. Golovkin might even go back. You know, but from what they're saying, that it involved money. And money is always the problem to everything. Money is always a problem, like 95% of the time. So I'm looking to see. I'm interested in seeing who Gennady is gonna work with for his next fight and his upcoming fights. Uh, Shout out to Del Boy. Del Boy, if you don't follow him, subscribe to his channel. Pretty solid YouTube channel. I've been following him for a long time. He made a pretty good video about who the next trainer should be. I thought it was an excellent video. I thought it was a perfect video because he named a couple of trainers. He named Vasil Lomachenko's father because of the language barrier, and just because of the way that his fighters, his camp, and the way that they fight. There's a lot of similarities there. I think they can bring in some defensive tools to Golovkin's game. Okay, I know he's 37 years old, but you never know. And then he also brought in Buddy McGirt, who recently started working with Kovalev on his comeback fight with Alvarez, and Kovalev looked very good. He boxed very well, remained patient. He seemed like he can get through. He was able to get through Kovalev's head. All right, and get him to help him with that win. So he named those two. I agree 100% with him. That was an excellent video. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. So shout out to him. Great video. Now, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Golovkin against Steve Rose. Um, I don't even know where to begin here. I'm gonna just go straight into it. This is not no Golovkin hate channel. So for you guys that's gonna come here and not listen to what I'm saying, you can just leave because I've been a Golovkin supporter on this channel since I've owned this channel. And I've probably seen more fights of his live than any other fighter that I've seen live in the past 5+ years. Okay? Gennady Golovkin is on a level of that's too high to be fighting guys like a Steve Rose. And that's not just me saying that because I checked Steve Rose box record or anything like that. No, I literally looked him up on YouTube. He is just not nearly on a level of Golovkin. Not even for a tune-up. You know, I can see a Steve Rose if he was coming off a devastating knockout loss. You know, like Jorge Linares recently, like just losing really early, really quick. I expect a fight like a Steve Rose following up a loss like that. You lost to Canelo Alvarez, and where most people probably thought you won both fights. Steve Rose is just beneath even the lower quality fighters that you've already beaten and destroyed and just totally dismantled. You know, you beat Dominic Wade. I remember flying to Cali and I was out there for that fight. You beat up Dominic Wade and made it look easy. All right. That was a fight that people criticized you for taking it in, but at least he was your mandatory. You know, it was not a fight that anyone wanted to see, but you have to take care of your mandatories, you know. And Dominic Wade is even more proven than the Steve Rose, you know. Then you got guys like Vanes Martirosyan, who you fought recently in between. I believe you fought him either after Daniel Jacobs or in between the Canelo fights. Uh, yeah, it was in between the Canelo fights. And even though Vanes Martirosyan wasn't active, even though he wasn't a guy at 160, Vanes Martirosyan was a much more proven fighter than Steve Rose overall, you know? And you dispatched of him very easily, quickly. But it's the fact that Vanes was still, he was inactive, but he still is competent enough to give a good fighter a good fight. You know? He's not overaged or anything like that. You beat him up. You prove to the people that you can still stop fighters. All right? You've been in some tough scraps. Kell Brook, you know, made people start having a chit chat of you not being as good as you were or not as good as many believe you were. Daniel Jacobs fought you and made a fight to be very debatable, in my opinion. And the Canelo fights were very debatable. But you should never have gone down to fighting a guy like Steve Rose. All it does is your first fight on the zone, you knock a guy out very easily. The guy doesn't even have, not only does he not have this talent, but he doesn't even have the power to keep you off of him. We've seen you fight guys with no power where you were just taking punches. You were daring them to punch you. You know, Steve Rose are not even on the level of a Willie Monroe Jr. Like he's not on the level of any of these guys you've been fighting over the years. And it's just a slap in the face because we've seen what moves you tried to make. You've tried to fight Rob Brandt. You tried to fight Brandon Adams. Those fights didn't work out. You know, Brandt is going on to fight Murata for a rematch. Brandon Adams is rumored to be fighting Jamal Charlo. a fighter that we actually want to see you face. Uh, we want to see you fight Demetrius Andrade, who is not scheduled for a fight and has a title at 160. I know you were trying to fight a guy like a Rob Brandt to get yourself in position, a mandatory position to fight Canelo again, but you have a guy in the Demetrius Andrade who holds a title at 160 and he fights with the zone. I know you coming off of a loss, but it wasn't a devastating loss. It was a loss that many believe you won. What is the excuse? And even if you're not going to fight Demetrius Andrade or Jamal Charlo, you still should not be fighting guys on a level of a Steve Rolls. It's just, we understand tune-up fights. We understand stay busy fights. But you are just way too beyond this kind of fight. I know the fans are going to get here and just say, oh, he's just tuning up. He's just a showcase fight. We don't know. We don't need a showcase from you. We already know that you're a destroyer at this point. We know that already. You've beaten much far superior fighters. People are still questioning whether or not you're the real deal. And I can't really blame them because when you were on HBO, they were comparing you to all-time greats. They were hyping up your title defense record to make it seem like you had more title defenses than Bernard Hopkins when they weren't major title defenses. People on social media here on the YouTube community were saying that you were the all-time great middleweight. Saying that you were better than Carlos Monzon. Saying that you were better than Hagler. People were going that far with saying that you were this great of a fighter. In the meantime, as dominant as you were in the middleweight division, and I was here supporting you, anyone that's been around can confirm that I was here supporting you throughout this whole wave of fighters that you beat up. Curtis Stevens, all these fighters that you went through, I was here. But you still have work to be done. I still don't know, how good are you? How good are you really? I think you're very good. I think you're pound for pound, without a doubt. But are you ATG good? Or one of the best fighters of this era? Because the way that you were getting promoted, and I understand HBO, that's what they do. That's what networks do. They promote their fight. But HBO goes a little bit over the top. Roman Gonzalez, for example. Even Vasyl Lomachenko. They promote their fighters a little bit too much. They overhype them a little too much. And that example with the title defenses, surpassing Bernard Hopkins, thought that was a little dirty how they were doing because they know what they were doing. That's not right. Those are not major titles. And for that long stretch leading up to Daniel Jacobs, you beat guys that were solid. Lemieux was a good win. But let's not get crazy. There are guys in other divisions that are taking down better fighters. And it's not your fault that you were running through guys in a weaker time. The 160 division was kind of weak at the time. It's a lot better now. It's been weak for years. It was weak when you had your reign. It was weak when Sergio Martinez had his reign. Wasn't that strong. It was even weak when Bernard Hopkins had his reign. But Bernard Hopkins have gone to several divisions and won titles and fought all kind of fighters. He's done a lot of things throughout his career. So it wasn't even fair how they were promoting that. But when Hopkins was in middleweight, he was having undisputed title defenses. He became undisputed and he had many title defenses at middleweight. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered still. Steve Rolls is not it. You go in there and you knock out Steve Rolls in 1 and 2 rounds, which is what you're going to do. It doesn't mean anything. It just means they know what they're going to do. You're going to knock him out, and the commentators, Gennady Golovkin is back. He is back. That's all they're going to do. I want to see you knock out someone that's legit, like a Jamal Charlo, who hasn't proven much at 160. He had a recent fight, very, very close fight. A lot of people think he lost the fight. Demetrius Andre hasn't proven much, but you know what? People want to see these fights. And even though they're not that proven at 160, overall, they have resumes. They held titles. They're undefeated. Guys like Steve Rolls, never even heard of him. No one's demanding this fight. Why are you fighting him? We already know what's going to happen. This is not the way you solidify your career. This is not how you do it. And these guys were available. And you know what? You're probably the favorite to beat both of them. I'm not saying you will, but you're good enough to compete with a Charlo and a Demetrius Andre. Why can't we get those fights? Why? Why not? I know Demetrius Andre might be fighting Selechi, which is a good fight. He's also a good opponent to have. There's a lot of good opponents still to have at 160. There's a lot of even tune-ups. It's just like Danny fighting Rod Salka. He had a tough fight from Mauricio Herrera, so they throw him in there with Rod Salka. It's the same exact situation. We know what that's about. He didn't look good against Herrera, so you know what? Just to remind people how good Danny is, we're going to throw him in there with someone that he's going to knock clean out just to hype him up again. It's not necessary, Danny. We know you how good you are already. We already see you beat up Zab, Matisse, knock out Amir Khan. Why are we seeing you fight Rod Salka? That's how I look at this fight. Steve Rolls is Rod Salka. Rod Salka. Gennady Golovkin don't need to be in a ring, sharing a ring like guys like this. This is a slap in the face. Anyway, I like Golovkin, but I need to see something. I know he has 6 fights. I know he has times. I already know what angles you guys are going to bring. He has a lot of time. They got 6 fights. He's not going to be all tough fights. I get it, guys. But Steve Rolls is a little too low. That's OD. It's a little too low for him. That's way below him. All right? I'm out, guys. Peace.